Okay, we're going to start up our media availabilities again today. We are now joined by Ricky Stenhouse Jr., driver of the number 47 Sweet Leaf Chevrolet. We'll go ahead and open it up to questions.
Sweet.
Anybody? We'll go to Jerry and then Dustin. Hold on one second. We're getting a mic to you.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTires.net. Just walk us through through what you were going through out there, and if you learn anything, what do you expect for tomorrow?
Yeah, I think, what you saw in practice is really probably what you're going to expect. I mean, for us, we made some laps on the simulator and kind of had an idea of what, the car was going to drive like, what the track was like. And then obviously when you got out there, you learned a lot more at a pretty high rate of speed. So I think the speeds, for me, I thought were going to be, I didn't think they would be as fast as what we were as far as the single speed there in the draft. But the cars drive pretty good. It does get a little bit tight on entry, especially into turn 3. I think you see a lot of people kind of drift up off the bottom until you kind of catch more of the banking, and then you can kind of turn back down and drive off. 2 wide is comfortable. Obviously, I think center of the corner 3 wide's not terrible, but the exit of turn 2 and the entry of turn 3, it's really narrow on the backstretch, so that'll be kind of tricky to kind of see how that plays out. Obviously, it was practice, so nobody was really trying to shove 3 wide or get too aggressive. But it's gonna be a battle. I think for us, I felt like our car was really fast and really good. And I think if when you get out front, you're gonna be able to control the lanes a little bit easier than like a Daytona or Talladega, because Daytona's easier to control a lane than Talladega because it's so much more narrow. And then you take it another step further here on how wide the racetrack is compared to Daytona, and so you'll be able to maneuver and block those 2 lanes, I think, a little bit better. So I think track position is going to be important. We didn't see a whole lot of tire wear, so I think that's a good thing with how fast we're going. We weren't sure about that, but all in all, it's going to be about what you saw there.
And quick follow-up, there's a big debate on social right now. It's chaos or calm, your prediction?
So everything, I don't know, it seemed kind of chaotic, for a practice session. Obviously, we're all trying to learn as much as we could. I think we got, 500 miles around here. I mean, it's a long time. And, I think we ran 44 laps or so in that practice. Some guys ran 60-something laps, which I feel like you never see, out of us in practice. So everybody's just trying to learn. So I think that was pretty calm right there, even though it still felt intense. And I think the drivers are going to be worn out come Sunday, just how intense and on top of the car you got to be. But I think one mistake and you're going to wipe out just about the whole field if it's at the front. So it'll be kind of crazy to watch this.
All right, we'll go to Dustin and then over to the right.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Ricky, you mentioned blocking, and I'm curious about how you do that with the lines. We often hear at Daytona, Talladega, the runs and how quick those can be. What are the runs like, and what are the challenges going to be in blocking, even though, as you say, you don't maybe have as much ground to cover, but if the runs are coming quickly, decisions have got to be made fast?
Yeah, the decisions are still going to have to be made fast for sure. But like I said, the room, left to right is a lot smaller. But I do feel like, to your point, that the runs are, can be bigger depending on, kind of what happens. So, I think obviously we're all going to keep learning as we go through here. I watched the 48 jump up in front of the 6, I believe. And then the 18 was able to turn and just drive under both of them, and because it stalled both of them out pretty quick, and pretty much by himself cleared both of them. So the runs are big for sure.
All right, we'll go to the right.
Steven Toronto, CBS Sports. Ricky, in regards to the end of a green flag run, normally when you have green flag pit stops at Daytona and Talladega, there's that straight shot off turn 4 where everyone gets straightened down and is able to get to pit road fairly easily. Here, it's right off the corner. So how do you think peeling off for green flag stops is going to work? And or do you think that handling is going to be enough of a factor at the end of the run that it won't be as much of an issue pitting in a group?
I didn't see handling going to be a terrible issue at the end of a run. Like I said, I think you saw a lot of guys run a lot of laps on tires and still felt like they were pretty competitive and handled really well. You brought up a good point. Coming to pit road is going to be super treacherous. Like you said, you're braking in the corner. The corner's not really that wide to begin with, so you can't get off the racetrack to start your braking like you can, like you said, at Daytona and Talladega. It's going to be a big mess when we try that. But, I think it'll break the field up. It'll be exciting, and you're going to have to nail it right, to, continue to, keep in the lead draft and, especially if you're at the front to retain the lead. So it'll be important to, still pit with cars, so that you can go out and, run fast laps. But, I think you'll see cars kind of break up but eventually get back together. Daytona, we stayed kind of broken up. So, but getting to pit road is going to be tough.
Thank you.
We'll go back right. And then we'll go to the press box.
Ricky, Dalton Hopkins of FrontStretch.com. I talked to some of the drivers in the Xfinity and Truck Series, and they both said that one of the concerns is wreck avoidance since the track is so narrow. What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, we're all in the same box, though. And, there's certain racetracks that are just tough to miss wrecks. Martinsville, Bristol, or some of those. But, I do like that, with this new next-gen car, we got pretty big brakes. And I noticed that, like at Daytona and Talladega, when there is a crash, you can get, slowed down pretty quick. But it, that's the tightest I've seen all of us together, in a small portion of a racetrack in a long time. So that will be a factor, and you're gonna have to be at the right place at the right time.
All right, and we'll go to the press box.
Hi, Ricky. Lee Spencer. I kept hearing spotters talk about the bubble, and I'm wondering, clearly they're talking about the bubble era in drafting, but how different does it feel for other places that you drafted, and kind of can you explain the sensation from behind the wheel?
I felt like for us, our card actually was really good as far as like the bubble goes around being able to get to the car's bumpers in front of us. I felt like we struggled, the Chevys in general, a little bit at Daytona with getting to someone's bumper. But here I felt like, I think it was Denny, Suarez, and myself in a little 3-car run, and I was able to get to Suarez's bumper without anybody behind me. So I felt like I got through that bubble pretty good. But, when you do catch up to someone, it really pushes you and that person, to the cars in front of them, a lot faster than I, feel like Daytona and Talladega are going to be.
Any additional questions from the press box?
No questions.
Okay. We'll go up here to Dustin and then Bob.
One other thing, Ricky, is certainly at Daytona, Talladega, we've seen the importance of the manufacturer cars working together. Is that something that's going to play what kind of a role, or is that something that you guys have already had meetings or will have a meeting about and talk about like you would at a Daytona, Talladega weekend?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly on our side what's kind of going to go down. I think everybody wanted to kind of see how practice shook out first. Definitely when you have teammates or manufacturers with you at the front of the field, you can definitely control those lines a little easier when you got multiple people trying to help you do that. So I still think that's going to be a factor, when it comes down to it. But, everything I think is a little bit more tricky, here at Atlanta than Daytona, as far as, Daytona is pretty straightforward of, what the manufacturers are going to do to help each other. But here I feel like, there's still so many unknowns that we're not 100% sure how that's going to play out.
All right, and final question from Bob.
Bob Parkhurst, Fox Sports. So, is there any throttle response at all to help avoid a wreck, or is it just like kind of Daytona and Talladega in that sense?
Do what now?
Can you work the throttle at all to avoid a wreck, or is it just like Daytona and Talladega as far as what you can do to try to avoid?
Well, I think on one hand it could be a little calmer because you can lift and not really lose spots and kind of keep your position on track. And your Daytona, we were all worried about losing the draft, and I don't think you're going to be worried about losing the draft here. So I think that made everybody at Daytona pretty aggressive to make sure that they stayed up in the pack. You didn't want to be the last car. Here I don't think you're going to have those issues, but I mean, I wasn't wide open every lap out there. I mean, I was playing around with the throttle. The front stretch kind of gets clogged up. I think I saw a few of you talk about that on the front stretch. Just the way the front stretch is and the way we come off turn 4, for whatever reason, it seems like that second dog leg, things kind of just almost stack up a little bit. And, I was having to use the brake, get off the gas, and really work the pedals as well. So I think the biggest asset for us to avoid wrecks is just the bigger brakes.
All right, thanks for joining us, Ricky.
Not a problem. Thank you.